Hello, I'm Whitney Ortiz with Whole Health Self-Care. Thank you for joining us for the Whole Health series. This series convenes women leaders from around the world who share tips, tools, and strategies for how today's women professionals can feel better, enjoy a greater quality of life, and have enhanced capacity to be able to lead with compassion at work and at home. I'm so thrilled to have with us Lara Ayoub. She is a digital media strategist, consultant, content creator, and co-founder of a nonprofit, SADAQA. SADAQA empowers women, advocates for their rights, and creates a family-friendly workplace for them in Jordan. Lara sits on the boards of Save the Children Jordan and the World Association of Newspapers and News Publishers of the Middle East. She's a recognized global leader by Vital Voices and the recipient of the 2019 Goldman Sachs Fortune Global Women Leaders Award. She currently serves as the UN75 Communications Specialist for the UN Development Coordination Office for Arab States. Thank you so much, Lara, for being a part of the Whole Health series.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Whitney, and for the great program that you have. I look forward to be part of your series and to meet the rest of the leaders that you're talking to.
Thank you. I thought for our conversation today, we can talk about both ourselves individually and internally, and also us as a collective, women around the world who are finding themselves in such a unique time in human history and human existence. So irrespective of context, location, many are feeling a heightened sense of urgency to act, to bring forth positive change amongst all that is happening around us. Would you speak to that for a few minutes, please?
Of course. Once again, I'm very happy to be on the Whole Health series, and I think the topic you're addressing is very important because we've been through a great transition over the last couple of months, let alone throughout our lives probably, but this last 8 months have been defining and have pushed us off our track, our normal track, whether parents, as employees, as a family member, just as an individual. We've had to recalibrate all the time. And I think the common thing about women all over the world is that we tend to hold back our suffering and we think we're on our own, yet we are not. And it's very comforting when you know that you are not there, you're not alone in this. And I usually I reach out to my global network to find comfort and to share the challenges and the crisis that we're going through. Like, how can I overcome this? What should I do with the situation? How do I make sense of it? But we should never forget ourselves, what's going on inside of ourselves. We should never forget to listen to what's happening from within. Because those that want to make a difference in the world are usually they find the challenges because they want to make a difference. So when you go ahead in your path and you're looking for that change that you know will bring peace and comfort, development, progress, especially in the lives of the vulnerable, which are women, youth, children, elderly, you find yourself on your own. And that's when we need collectiveness, and that's when we need our networks and our contacts. And I've found immense benefits and comfort in reaching out to those people that are in my life, and especially women, to put me back on track. So it might seem like we are unable to go on to the thing that we had predicted or expected or planned. And I recommend that everyone take a moment to think, what is it that I'm afraid of? When we ask ourselves, who can I reach out, either in a virtual board of directors that you have in your head, people you believe in that you can just maybe read their bio. Sometimes I go into someone that I might never meet, but if I read her bio and I see what she's done and what she's been through, I can get inspired. You can find inspiration. You can find the enabling factors that make others overcome their challenges. And again, all of this can help you move forward. But the essential thing that came out of this, for me personally, lockdown, was to look from within. The within had been neglected, not because I had mainly neglected it, but because there was no time. So in lockdown, it allowed for us to revisit our purpose, revisit our priorities, revisit our passion, and really what matters to us.
There was a forced push to look within, while at the same time, we do all have the time if we create it, right? And I think we've all gotten to that point of realizing we need to more create that space. And as you say, really reach out and reach within.
Exactly.
And as you work with women from around Jordan and around the region in the Middle East on economic empowerment, you have very intentionally and beautifully created community so that women don't feel disconnected from each other. And in that recognition that we do need each other, we really need to be able to reach out to a community while we're working on what's happening inside, to have that support, to find those like-minded individuals, to say, I'm going to help lift you up as you help lift me up, and together, we rise. Would you talk a bit about why and how you founded your nonprofit and the communities that have been created through your work?
Absolutely. 17, I've been working in digital media for 17 years, actually media between television and print. So I was, happy, go merry, no challenges. I was just my work-life challenge. 10 years throughout my career, like after 10 years, I came across an obstacle, which was that I got married and my career was at threat because I realized that the work environment that I was in did not offer a family-friendly space. It wasn't going to accommodate my future family. And that was a wake-up call that why am I in this position, although I am so enabled and I'm in my mid-career, and I wasn't aware of this. And I became the constituency. I became the person that needs support. So in order for me to find that support, I had to create it. And so the quest began on how I can support myself through the law, through the existing labor rights, only to come across that there are existing laws that call for the provision of daycare at the workplace, because one of the 4 barriers for entry of women in the workplace in Jordan, we have one of the lowest participation of women in the world. And that one of the 4 reasons for that is lack of daycares. Others include transportation, pay inequity, and social cultural norms that prevent women from entering. But what was most importantly visible was that women tend to leave the workforce and not come back when they become mothers. No one is there to tell them, hey, you don't have the choice, you have to go back. So there was an existing law that everyone was unaware of it. So my partner and I, we started to raise awareness. It started off as a campaign for a whole year where we raised awareness. We worked with the government, Ministry of Labor, and within the last 10 years, we've been able to advocate and raise awareness and increase the capacity of daycares in Jordan to ensure women and families can enter the workforce and remain there. Those structural barriers that are related to the economy, to social protection, to even her health, are essential. And these structural barriers were very much highlighted during the COVID. The structural inequalities, whether you're a woman, violence against women, a healthcare worker, unpaid work at home, migrants, young women and girls, women in conflict areas, which we're surrounded by. So SADAQA came to empower and work with the employer, with the government, to enable women and men and parents to assure them that there is a possibility, since we have an existing law, for you to go into the workforce and stay there. And we have been able to create a technical arm, and also I will happily invite your viewers to, if they need assistance in how to start a daycare, we usually do floor plans, we give advice for free for anyone who shows any interest. in starting or setting up a daycare, because we know that the only way a woman can go back to work after she has a baby is if she's close to her newborn. This will encourage breastfeeding. It will lessen absence. Like she won't go absent, like, and ask for leaves all the time. And her mind will be at peace, so she'll be much more productive as an employee. So we work with the government, we work with the stakeholders, the employees, and the civil society, as well as the parents, and not just the parents, young women and girls. For us, it's essential that a woman that is 23 years old going into the workforce knows that she has rights, knows how to select a family-friendly work environment, knows which questions to ask in an interview, and knows when to reject and when to accept a job offer. Because when she gets into that path, she will not be surprised like I was at 34, when I was like, wait a minute, when I have a baby, I have to leave. And that's what happened. I resigned when I was 5 months pregnant because I was vulnerable, I was scared, I had no support, I didn't know my rights, and I couldn't advocate on my own. So that's when we went and we started SADAQA. It was during that year. And it's very important that the young women that enter the workforce are enabled, and the women that are leaving the workforce know their value. Whether they're at 60 or 70, because I need her when I'm in my 40s to stay in the workforce, to empower me, to tell me how to get on a board, to tell me how to become a CEO, to show me how to get a bigger job, because we are very unfair when it comes to ourselves. We don't believe that we deserve this. We don't even believe we deserve a family-friendly work environment. And the biggest indicator was those that had a daycare. The women in those companies that had daycares were so empowered, and they were rising up their career ladder, and they were totally okay with, they knew that they were in a safe space. And that is what we strive to offer every organization in Jordan, although the last 8 months have been a nightmare for this sector, this informal sector that has been, we want it to be classified as essential, because instead of us working for daycares, parents that have children at 5 and below, we ended up being approached by parents that have a 12-year-old. And they would say, where do we go with our kids? Now the lockdown is lifted, but the daycares and schools are closed. How can I get to work when I have a 12-year-old at home without any help? So SADAQA became an aid, a supporting arm for anyone and any organization that needs a survival mechanism to stay functional. And that's where we did our policy papers, and that's how we were reaching out to the government. Please give us a statement. How can parents go back to work? How can you ensure that their rights are protected and they don't lose their jobs, because they need to put bread on the table?
You are a shining example of women who are creating the systems and structures that we all need. Within this new paradigm, you give us hope, because you have shown through inspired action, you have been doing this, that it is our role to be the ones to call out and say, what's the current norm is not working for us, and for us to be able to work and beyond even the basic needs of putting food on the table. Many women are in this space and time of wanting to realize a deep inner self that has not yet been expressed in the world, that self-actualizing woman professional who has a dream, an idea, a goal that she's been sitting with for years and now seeing as a time to put forth. But if those systems and structures are not in place, they hold back her full potential from being released and expressed in the world. So on behalf of literally thousands and millions of women, I thank you. And I encourage others to reach out to you, because you have created a model that is replicable and scalable in so many other contexts, and will indeed be what will help us all move forward into the next paradigm that is forming at the moment. So for others to be able to do the kind of leadership that you do, which is so inspiring and motivating and compassionate, how do you recommend women really take the time to create?
So from a personal experience, first I'd like to highlight also, if I may, that SADAQA is run by a group of remarkable women. And they are, I would love to like just send them my cheers and my salute them for the work that they do, because honestly, they carried this organization to where it is today. Back to your question, when the lockdown took place, we did not anticipate this, and it didn't push me personally off track. It just threw me off track. And it wasn't because I have one of the greatest support system from my parents, from my husband, my kids. Everyone became so adaptable to the situation. But there was I started asking questions to myself. What do I need to do to get myself out of here? How can I make this lockdown worthwhile? This uncertainty, I'm not immune to it. What can I do to preserve my sanity? And you have to want to know, you have to want a solution, because usually we try to shut that out. We try to say it will go away. It's not going to go away. You are going to live with yourself, whether you like it or not, and you need to dig deep and you need to look inwards. Again, I would recommend, what worked for me is that, first of all, I managed my time in how much news I consumed. I paused. I realized that pausing and just listening to what you say from within is very loud. And because of our livelihood, our lifestyle, like, in the lockdown, I actually knew that we had birds in the neighborhood. So imagine what you can hear from within. So just listening to my personal voice and what I really want versus what I don't want. And why was my don't want taking over everything? No, what do I really want? Even if it means choosing green over yellow, or learning how to say no, or learning how to say I want that, learning how to not attend every party and not having the fear of missing out, although now it's the fear of going out. Trying to taste your vulnerability, to embrace your authentic voice. The authentic voice, for someone that has been working with media digitally, so I listen to people online, the authentic voice is audible. It goes into other people's systems in a different way. We are so conditioned to listening to messages from social media, news platforms, WhatsApp groups that share all this content, because popularity beats truth. We usually get inspired by a friend who we trust recommended a story. I trust her. But what about the truth? What about what's good for you? What about the authenticity? So embracing who we really are by using our authentic voice is something that if there's one of the messages I would like to highlight, it's that, because you have to trust your instinct and trust who you are and give that person a chance. And all it takes is little practices, whether it's an outfit. It could be a shallow thing or a big thing or a deep thing or a leadership. Leadership comes from enabling ourselves by the self, us, and now. You need to put yourself first. Like when you share someone's story, or you share your own story, don't use the macro. Go into the show me, don't tell me. Show me what you're about, And I found that the way I liberated or embraced myself a bit more than usual when I came face to face with the challenges, it was mainly by those vulnerable moments that I said, till when am I going to keep doing this? Till when am I going to ignore something that I know I want, or I need, or will make me happy? Till when am I going to ignore that inner voice? And I'm learning, and it has worked well for me for one reason, because it can mobilize you as a leader. When you accept, and it's okay if you need help. Don't say, okay, the other women in my country or the region, what about me? How can I, because some people tend to help others when they cannot help themselves. Mm-hmm. And this is something I also felt it could be an issue with many people. Mm-hmm. What help do you need? And why are you resisting it? And it doesn't make you weak if you're vulnerable. So in pausing and literally listening to that inner voice, and every time you want to take an action, Ask yourself, it's that split second. Is this what I want? Am I saying yes because I want to make someone happy? Am I saying yes because I really want it? Or am I saying yes because I didn't think about it? And you know how we regret, like, oh, I wish I said something different. Oh, I wish I didn't promise them I'd join. I wish I wore something else. I wish I didn't do this. That's how you can change things in that little moment when you decide. And you'd be surprised what putting that in practice, how it can mobilize you, because it liberates you. You embrace yourself, your authentic voice is audible, and you're more believable, because when you show your vulnerability and challenges, it doesn't make you less of a leader. It makes you more of an effective leader, because you can relate to people. And relevance in this time and day, it's an uncertainty. Nobody knows what tomorrow is going to bring. And we know that life can be flipped upside down in a second.
Mm-hmm.
And this is work in progress. I mean, it's just.
And when we do pause to really listen and make those choices intentionally before we act often, and then have to look back and say, oh, I wish I had done this or that or acted that way, right? It's really being so conscious and aware of everything that we're saying and doing and thinking in a moment. And all we have is this moment.
You won't come back, because, you know, I mean, with COVID, and I'm sure in the US and all over the world, the smell of death is close. Life is short. Mm-hmm. Life is so short. And it's not a rehearsal. And I have a very dear friend in Haiti who said that to me. She taught me that lesson in 2010. After the earthquake, she came to this mentoring program with Vital Voices, where we spent 5 solid weeks together. And she said, she looked at me and I was like, you just came out of an earthquake and look at you. You're stunning, you're dressed up. She said, this is not a rehearsal. You don't get a second chance. You got to take life and savor it.
Yes. And so many of the women who are listening are coming from circumstances and situations and locations that have endured through great trauma, destruction, horror, etc. So when they can go through and then lead and show up with an inner strength and resiliency, it is so inspiring. And as you mentioned, when we need that inspiration to motivate us to carry forward, we can find mentors by actively seeking them. And some we may never meet. It may just be that a person inspires us, we read their bio, we watch their speeches, we read their works, and we say, oh, that gives us. And then we have the beauty, the grace, the amazing gift to have access to somebody like you, who has generously given of her time and wisdom to share with the world and to be that shining light for others to see. And so thank you for offering to connect with others, and that whole aspect of community, that we are all connected. We are really as one, and it just takes that effort to reach out.
Yeah, I mean, women need to reach out. They need to know they're not alone. But without the personal effort of positioning yourself as someone that wants to connect, just like we connected, Whitney, it will go unnoticed. So we have a duty and a right to be heard. And our voice should be vital and remain vital, not just for ourselves, for the rest of the women in the world. I mean, all of us, we know the value of being heard and what it could do to our leadership. And I just hope that we can remain connected and empower one another, no matter where we are, because now we can through technology.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, Lara, for sharing with us here today.
Thank you, Whitney. Thank you so much.